On to this now. The World Health Organization says there's a suicide every 40 seconds and someone tries to kill themselves every 3 seconds. In South Africa, a growing concern is the rate of teen suicides. Contributing factors include depression, alcohol and drug abuse. This week marks Teen Suicide Prevention Week. To speak to us now about this, I'm joined by Cindy van Zyl from the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Ms. van Zyl, thank you very much for your time. It's a depressing story that I've just read. Why is teen suicide on the up in South Africa?
Okay, so as you mentioned, depression plays a role in people choosing to die by suicide. And I think the youngsters of today are faced with many stresses, way more stresses than we were faced with when we were their age. I mean, there's this pressure of social media. You have people that are being bullied at school. There's a pressure of academics, parents, pressurizing them to do very well at school. And those things contribute to depression. And if you can't handle those stresses, if you can't navigate your way through those stresses, then you end up falling into very deep depression and then choosing to die by suicide. So the thing is that we need caregivers and parents to be able to identify when a teen is depressed. And this is where, parents need to be very vigilant around their children.
How much of an influence does social media have?
Social media has a very big influence. I mean, if you think about how you were when you were a teenager, I mean, your hormones are raging. It's important what people say about how you look and how you speak and how you act, because you're trying to be impressionable and you're trying to fit in. So if you have an Instagram page and no one likes your pictures and people say that you look ugly in those pictures or you have acne and they make fun of you, it has an impact on you. And we're older now, so we can look back and think, oh, that didn't really matter. But when you're in the situation, it is a big deal.
Oof. And parents, how do they deal with the situation?
Well, it's important for parents to identify when their child has changed, because I'm living with depression, and as a medical doctor, I'm able to explain these things very well to people, that you start changing. So if your child is withdrawn, if your child is no longer taking part in activities that they used to do, if your child starts speaking about dying or is preoccupied with death, that's a red flag.
How do you see that? How do you notice that your child has become preoccupied with death? How do you pick up those signs?
They start writing stuff that doesn't make sense, or they start saying a lot of things about dying, or I'll be better off dead, or they start cutting themselves, and they start. You'll see when they're saying things like that, right? There's a preoccupation with dying, or, Mom, if I wasn't around, your lives would be much better. You need to listen to those things. And I find that parents don't always understand how much turmoil a teen is in when they're going through a situation. Because as I said, we are older. We can look back and say, oh, that was a small situation. But for your teen, a seemingly small situation is big for them. So you need to listen to everything that they say. And what we say at SADAG, we have a mnemonic called, which says ACT, and we want people to ask a person if they're feeling okay, right? And if they're not feeling okay, then you must show some care. You must listen without judgment. And the last thing is that get the person into treatment, because the burden is not on you to help them. You can't help them. You're not a professional. But there are professionals that can help and know exactly what to do.
Substance abuse, whether it be drugs or alcohol. How, first of all, do teenagers gain access to these?
Well, drugs are everywhere. I mean, if you have enough money, you can get drugs anywhere. You can get drugs at the corner of the...
But maybe you should lessen giving your teenager money.
Well, I mean, okay, how much is cannabis? I think let's think about that. So it's not so much about how do they access. I mean, you can get drugs anyway. I think the question to ask is, why is your teen now resorting to drug use or to alcohol misuse? Yeah. And what are the underlying issues? And again, it comes down to communication and knowing your child. And look, a lot of us are very busy. We're very busy parents, and our kids are left to their own resources, and that's something that you have to look into. So communication is very important, but be aware of your child's activities, be aware of who they hang around with, and just be aware if there are any changes. It's important to intervene before your child dies by suicide.
All right. Thank you very much for coming through, Cindy van Zyl, from the South African Depression and Anxiety Group.